Welcome back by Behavior-Based Robotics. We're going now into chapter 3, where we'll look how we can create behaviors for robots. In the previous chapter, we've looked how it looked like in the animal kingdom, and you will see for the robots that there are some things that will be the same, but also some parts that are completely different for robots. So that was already a very short introduction. The thing that we want to learn today is what robotic behaviors are and how much they are different from animal behaviors. Understand what sort of types of methods there are to express behaviors, to encode them. Then, if you have several of those building blocks, how to combine them and how to coordinate which one is active. And in the end, understand that you can do that in several different ways and that you every time have a design choice what to apply for this circumstance. So, what we have learned in the previous chapter is that in nature you often see reactive systems that have a very tight coupling between what you see in the world and what you do in the world, from perception to action. And the nice thing, if you do that, then you don't use any intervening abstract representations or histories, but you directly react on what comes towards you. And that's a great way to survive in the world. And from biology, we've seen a lot of examples from this sort of behavior. One example that's studied quite often is the Arctic term, in Dutch de stern. And those sterns, they going fishing, and when they come back to their nest, their youngs are waiting for them. And once the parent arrives, they open their beak to be fed. And they've seen how do they know that they will be fed. And actually they found out that there are only two stimuli to it. First, you have to be hungry. At the moment then something red is presented to you, then you start to ask for food, the feeding behavior. If not, both preconditions are fed, then the small birds are doing their own something else, and that works. So the feeding behavior is that they are starting to peck at the red thing that's dangling above them, and that's precisely the signal for the parents to feed those animals to red up. So what's seen here is that a red is one point, but it also has to be a pointed object, and once then dangling above the small birds, then you show that this sort of behavior. So that's great, because you have very simple basic blocks with a certain stimuli and a certain response, and that's great because that's very easy to program, and you can very easily make rule-based systems to catch that sort of behavior. Also, the nice thing is that no abstract representation is needed. You don't have to build a full world model. In pure programming, that means that you can make functions with only a few internal parameters, and that you don't need a lot of global information where you base your information on. And that means that those basic building blocks you can keep completely separate for all other parts of the code, and that it really helps to make them portable. So what you see is that the models that you see of behavior from animals in the world that are quite often used as inspiration, but not directly or one-on-one copied. But the greatest thing is that any of those building blocks can be test it by itself, and once it's working, then you can combine it to a more larger behaviors. So, how would it, are those behaviors modeled in robotics? It's not precisely as in nature. It's all in the neurons. Here we're trying to catch it in programming languages. So we will see one with the dominant way of describing behaviors in robotics, and we will also see that in the next chapter in robotic architectures, how the big picture is, but we will now concentrate on the lower part, how to describe the behaviors. So we will dive in that in the next section.